I feel like I have gotten to where I am today because I have led a life of being othered. So, to tell my story, I am an African American, biracial, transracial adoptee. That's a mouthful, but that speaks to, if that's a mouthful, that speaks to the intersectionality of my experience as a human. I grew up in a predominantly white area, a suburb of St. Paul, and was one of the only children of color throughout most of my K-12 education. I think that I realized that I was othered probably when, I think that the first time that it was tangible for me where I could put my finger on it was when I went to kindergarten, and the elementary school that I was enrolled in tried to corner my parents into putting me into the remedial education track. And I now, as an adult, realize that the privilege I carried having white parents, and that because of the privilege that they carry in being white and the privilege that they carry in being educated and understanding the system and how it is set up to really track children into certain lifelong trajectories, that is how I was able to avoid a trajectory that I very well could have had. And I think that being in that path and being very well aware of it, and my parents being very vocal about the privilege that I had and reminding me of that in a loving way, that was something that I was cognizant of throughout my education. I am recognizing my privilege, and I am recognizing that although I think that this is not a coincidence, that these things continue to happen for me, that I carry like two things, and that I feel like I am privileged, but then there are so many people who are as capable, as if not more capable than I am, to have these opportunities, and they do not. And so that, again, coming back to how it propelled me into public policy. But I organized in South Minneapolis and was able to have the opportunity to campaign for our current governor, Mark Dayton. I knew as soon as I was selected to go and work for the governor, I started off in his constituent services department, that I wanted to specifically be working with communities of color in Minnesota and making sure that they had opportunities to have full access to the democratic process and to state-run services that actually served them. And the amount of stories I heard from people when I was answering those really difficult calls, someone who was in dire need of that, or someone, I think, one of the craziest stories I ever had, experiences I ever had with a call, it was a Friday night, and it was like 3 o'clock, and I got this call from a woman who had lost her voucher to live in affordable housing, and she needed to get back to her family in Texas, I believe, and had nowhere to stay. She had been kicked out of her housing. She had 2 children, and it was winter. And she called me from a payphone in the library in Minneapolis and was like, I need to get out of here. I need bus vouchers. Help me. I don't know what to do. Of course, like calling the governor's office, I'm like, what? That's bizarre, but at the same time, like, that's how government should work, is you should be able to pick up the phone and call the governor's office or the mayor's office, and we connect you to what it is that you need. she called. I called the city of Minneapolis and the housing finance agency that oversees a lot of the homelessness work that the state of Minnesota does. And this woman was on a payphone. And I was able to get her on a Friday evening when everyone is trying to get out of the office early. I was able to get her and her family 3 bus vouchers to get on a bus that evening to go to Texas, so that that's where her only family was. And those are the types of opportunities that I think we need to that's what government should look like, right? That's what policy should look like. Is unfortunately we have these systemic problems that are going to probably exist forever, unfortunately. But how does government work? How are we ensuring that people have access to opportunities within government, whether it's through the services that they provide, or that how we are staffing government offices, or how we are giving government money away. And I speak in we just because that's something that sticks with me to this day. I'm no longer in the governor's office. It still sticks with me. I'll forever be a part of that team. And I think that even if you don't work for government, you should still say we, because it's ours. It's supposed to be ours.